Hey guys, how's it going? Just welcome to Rap Digging. This channel is going to be talking about albums, artists, songs, basically anything hip hop related. And I'm just going to give you like my personal opinions on it and knowledge about what I know. And hopefully we can comment about it together and just talk about the awesome world of rap. And today we're going to talk about Piñata and why I think that this can be considered a modern classic. So this album came out in 2014. It's by Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, and a little bit of background on the album. Freddie Gibbs, or just the artist in general, Freddie Gibbs, he's been rapping since 2004, been active. He released multiple mixtapes before Piñata. He was very prominent in the underground scene. He released a lot of stuff, but he never really hit that mainstream level with anything, just because, he wasn't that type of rapper. He was more of a street rapper, If you were a hip hop fan at the time, before Piñata was released, you probably would have known him if you were like within the hip hop circle, but really no critical acclaim. Also, I do have my notes right here. So this is what I'm gonna be looking at. So that's what I'm looking at. He was signed to CTE World, which is Young Jeezy's label, in 2011. He left in 2012. We're going to talk about that a little later, if you know what the album's about a little. And his debut studio album was ESGN 2013. And for all intents and purposes, he's a veteran, but if we just want to be real about it, no one really, he wasn't like a household name or anything, but he was a street rapper who was known among hip-hop circles. And then Madlib, he started in 1993, signed to Stolen's Throw in 1998, and he describes himself as a DJ first, producer second, and an MC last. And if you know anything about Madlib, you know that he's delved into all sorts of stuff with his production, including Shades of Blue, which is remixes of tracks from the Blue Note Records archive. And I just thought it was remixes of Blue Train by John Coltrane. I thought that's what that was, but upon further reading, I figured out it's more than that. And then he's also released an album of him rapping and the production under Quasimodo, which, if you guys know, he has that high-pitched voice thing going on, like Mac Miller had on Delusional Thomas. He has that going on, but that was before Mac Miller, obviously. But he had that going on. And then, of course, anyone knows that he released Mad Villainy, MF Doom, highly regarded as one of the staples of alternative hip hop, experimental hip hop. So, and then he's also worked with Kanye West, Kendrick Lamar on No More Parties for LA. He's worked with many rappers, very well respected in the industry. And in interviews with him, you could just tell he knows what the hell he's talking about with music in general, and that he's probably one of the most knowledgeable people in music about music. And then now to go on to the background of the album, it was recorded in 2011 to 2013, and it came out in 2014. So it's kind of cool that they didn't even record it in the year that it was released. It was all recorded prior. And then he had the EP for Thuggin', came out 2011, Shame, the EP 2012, and then the EP Deeper 2013. And then just more background about the album. In an interview with Radio.com, Madlib said that he just sent a whole bunch of beats to Freddie Gibbs because he didn't really know what Gibbs would have wanted. So he's just like, you know what, I'm just gonna send him everything. And then Gibbs goes on to say in that interview, which I'm gonna link below, that this shows how good of a producer Madlib really is, because he could just make like 100 beats and just send them. And if anyone's tried producing, it's not easy to produce. And then add the fact that Madlib samples stuff, that's not easy. And then more background about it. In a press release, Gibbs, I'm just paraphrasing what he's saying, he said that in this record he showed everything and that he doesn't regret any of it. And then Madlib also goes on to state that his production style in general, but also on this album, is that he doesn't quantize what he does, so it gives it that human feel to it. And then actually something I found interesting was they recorded it separately. Like Madlib would just send him stuff, Freddie Gibbs, and the reasoning, they both stated that it's because they have two different lives going on. Like Freddie Gibbs had stated that he was on the streets doing all that crazy shit, and Madlib was in his fucking place, it's cooking up beats. So they were both doing their separate things, and I thought that was really interesting. Now on, oh wait, no, real quick, can you get one more piece of info about the album? 1 second. About the background. And then in an interview with Kenneth Preski on music.newcity.com, which I'm going to link down below again, Gibbs said he was going through a lot on this record, and he said he was going through a career transition, and he says, you can tell with this record, when I started making it, I was broke, and when I finished it, I was rich. And that's backed up by the fact that it was recorded from 2011 to 2013, so like it all connects. Like he recorded this over like 2 years, you know what I mean? So he went through a lot. But now onto the album itself. So first of all, the cover art, the cover art and the atmosphere of the album, it just sounds vintage, you know what I mean? Like it's an old school vintage sounding album, and I've always held album arts to a high degree, because they could really make an album a lot more than what it is, you know what I mean? Not that this album isn't phenomenal, but like the album art really propels it, because it's like, you look at that, you see this old school looking album, and that's exactly what you get in the music. It sounds vintage, and then in that same press release I mentioned earlier, Gibbs said that it's supposed to be gangster blaxploitation film on wax. So like, if you listen to it, you listen to the skits, which the skits tie in everything. Like the skits, they do that. You could just tell that like that's exactly what they were going for, and it sounds exactly like that. This album doesn't even sound like it was from 2014. It sounds like it was like from like the 70s or 80s, I actually played this album I actually played a song. I think I played I forgot what I played. I think I played Deeper. I played it for my girlfriend the other day, and she thought it was old. She thought it was like older, but I'm like, no, it was released in 2014. It just sounds that cool. Like, but now onto the tracks themselves. The main thing that I've noticed with this album, just through listening to it, is that the tracks are very dynamic. Like, you have all sorts of tracks going on. For example, Deeper, all these isn't like that black and white. Like every track is gonna have some ruggedness, some, I'm just for the sake of this video. So like you have like the story track, like Deeper, and then you got like the laid back tracks, like High, Heralds, where he's literally just talking about like going like Popeyes and stuff, doing stuff like that, getting on with this girl in his backseat and shit. You got Lakers and Shame for chill tracks as well. And then you got the rugged tracks like Scarface, Bomb, Thuggin', Nicks. Like Thuggin', see, that's also kind of chill, but it's also rugged, you know what I mean? So like, and then you got the introspective tracks like Shitsville and Broken, the obvious diss track Real, and then Uno, which follows it right after. Like those are both like braggy tracks, you know what I mean? Braggadocio, I think that's how you say it. Then you got, just in my opinion, just like flat out cool tracks and Robes and Piñata. Like they're not really chill, they're just like cool, right? And then you do only have 2 skits on the album that are like actual like separate tracks, but they both serve their purpose. Like the first, I think the beginning skit with the dude talking about having to step over people's heads, like it just sets up for what's to come in the album. I love that one. And then the skits just at the end of the songs, just upon my first listens when this album first came out, I really didn't appreciate them that much. You know, I'm 23 now, so I was like 17 when this album came out. I think I was 16, somewhere around there, and like I just didn't appreciate it enough. You know what I mean? I'm all like, this is dumb. Like, why include this? Like, but you know, now looking back and looking at that album now, it's almost necessary to have it because it like provides a break in the songs and also provides atmosphere, you know, and story just to the tracks without having an actual like concept. It's more so just a theme. And then let's see what else I got. And then now on to like the actual rapping and production itself. I think Freddie Gibbs, he could not have rapped any better on this than how he rapped. Like, I've thought about this multiple times over the years, and the way he raps is just like phenomenal. Like, I've heard his other music, I've listened to his music since. He's a phenomenal rapper. Like, he's phenomenal. But just it's just the way like, for example, like Shitsville, you know, it's the song's about like making the most of what you have in a tough environment, and he's not afraid to like say that. And you know, all these people are just like him, and they try to act like they aren't, like that they, like, their shit doesn't stink. But like, it's like the beat just sounds so like urgent and like crazy, and the way he flows and the way his breath is, he's like da, 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 like the way he just sounds, like it's like, you know what I mean. But then like it's pressing, that's what I put, pressing. The beat and the flow are really pressing, and his breath control. And then like in Broken, for example, it's more of a laid back beat, but you could tell it has some like, it's like a melancholy type beat. And the way he sounds on that beat, his flow and his delivery, it's just so like, he sounds like exhausted. You know what I mean? Like exhausted emotionally. Like he's just like, oh, I've had it. You know what I mean? Like I've seen everything. I'm done with this. And then Scarface, you know, provides a great guest verse, but he kind of does it from a different angle. He's like kind of like mad at, like he's not mad, but he's like, dude, life just sucks. But he kind of takes it from like a different angle. And then you got songs like Real, Uno, and Robes, where like Freddie Gibbs is just spitting confidently. Like he sounds confident, but especially on like Robes and Uno, because Real, he's more attacking Young Jeezy, right? But Uno and Robes, he sounds confident, but he does it in a way where he's like, it sounds like he's kind of doing it effortlessly. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's just genius. And then Real, like that album, just that song is just like one of the highlights of the album for me, because I love the initial before the beat switch, because he's basically saying like, you know, everyone's not loyal, da 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 da, you know, no one can do it. Like, what do you say, the real ones are either dead or deep in the soil. And then the beat switch, right, where it does the kick goes dun, 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 and then he does the fucking, when he comes in, and he's all like, because it goes from the real ones ain't loyal, or no, the real ones are loyal, my bad. And then he's like, he's basically calling out people who aren't real. And then he's like, all right, here's who isn't real. And then he just calls out Young Jeezy. And you know, we're in a day and age where these songs aren't as prominent anymore, but he just delivers it in a way where it's like, I don't know, it was like some grown man rap, like, and then it's just fantastic. He's got bars after bars in that song. And then my favorite part, probably of the whole album, honestly, probably the whole album, is when he says, when he's in like the end, near the end of his verse, once the beat switches, like near the end of the song, and he has that double time, he goes like da 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 da, and then he just does it for like 2 or 3 lines, and then he just goes right back to his normal flow. I thought it's genius, because like to me, that basically says to me in the song is like, it's a diss track, and then him doing that is basically saying, you're a bitch, Young Jeezy, and I could also rap better than you. I could trap better than you, and I could rap better than you, with him doing that flow. So it's like, in a genre where it's all about competition and stepping on the other person's throat, you know, there's no other way to do it than actually rapping You know what I mean? And that's exactly what Freddie Gibbs did with that little thing. And the fact that he only did it for a few lines, he didn't do it the whole entire, verse. Because, like, I don't know, the way he peppered it in was just genius to me. I've always thought it was genius. And then, the length of that album. Because for me, if an album is if an album is 14 tracks or longer, that's just, or like over 50 minutes, it needs to have a damn good reason, you know what I mean? Because for me, I've realized, especially in the age of streaming, I've realized that, it's hard to listen to an album that's more than like 45 minutes or more than 14 tracks and just sit there and be like, all right, I'm gonna listen to this. At least for me, you know what I mean? That's just me. Also, all of this is my opinion, by the way. I should have said at the beginning of the video, but this is all my opinion. So if you've gotten it this far, this is all my opinion. If you want to comment about it, feel free. But, back on this now. But anyway, more than 14 tracks. I'm all like, all right, you got to have a damn good reason. And this album's 17 tracks. And yes, 2 of them are skits, but that still makes it 15 tracks. And this album is genius to me because every single track feels necessary, including the skits. And the track listing's perfect to me because it gives you, like, you go through ups and downs with it. Like, it gives you the intense moments, and you get a break. Like, for example, Shitsville, that song's fucking crazy. And then it goes from Shitsville to Rio, which is like angry, but he's like cool about it, but he's still fucking pissed. And then with Uno, that song's interesting to me because it's like, it's a soft beat, kinda. Like, I don't know what the word is, but it's a real, like, soft sounding beat, and it's really pleasing to the ears. But then he's just, like, confident and just, like, saying, like, I'm the best, like, fuck everyone else. And, like, it's an interesting, like, juxtaposition, kinda. And then following that is Robes, which is, in my opinion, the best beat on the album. Like, I don't know how Madlib did it. Like, you got, like, this girl singing, right? And then, like, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, it's a brilliant beat. But then following Robes, you got Broken, which is, like, the beat just sounds like, you hear that beat kick in, and you're like, all right, this is going to be, like, a sadder type track. Not sad, but, more introspective, more talking about life, you know what I mean? And that's exactly what it was. And then finally, the last real thing I'm going to talk about with the album is the guest verses. And again, this is my opinion. I could catch flack for this, but for me, not all of them, only like 2 or 3, but the guest verses are the only flaws with the album for me. With that being said, the guest verses that are good are like some of the best verses on the album. Also, real quick before I forget, actually no, I'm gonna get to that later, but the Damogenesis on Robes, every single line in that verse is phenomenal. Like, it's just one good bar after another. Like, I don't get how he did it. Scarface on Broken, just phenomenal. Like, the way he I don't know, like, the way he compliments Freddie Gibbs on that track is just very lovely. And his voice, it's like he's such a old rapper, you know what I mean? But he's still got that fucking voice. It's that voice. It's like Chuck D and Public Enemy almost. Not. They don't have similar voices, but both their voices like demand your attention. You know what I mean? Like, you hear Chuck D, he demands your attention with his voice. You hear Scarface on that track, he demands your attention. And then not a rapper, but BJ the Chicago Kid, great fucking guest verse, or guest feature, because he does the hook. And then everyone on Piñata, not named Mac Miller. I'm going to get into that a little later. Actually, no, I'm going to get into that right now. Mac Miller, rest in peace. But my only problem with his verse is, it starts out phenomenal. Like, when he's all like, eating Belgian waffles, my dick go down her tonsils. I forgot the rest of it, but that's awesome. But then, once that fucking exorcism scream comes in, that sucks. And then his flow after that, like, I don't like it at all. It's like such a bad way to close a phenomenal album and a phenomenal song. But yeah, the first half of his verse is phenomenal, and then once that fucking screech comes in, and then the rest of the following, it's just like, what the fuck was he doing? Like, I get it, but it just sounds so like, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't sound good when you have all these other guys spitting, and then to end it like that, I'm all like, okay, that's a poor decision, but you know, it's what he did, so fuck it. And then Danny Brown, his verse on High, it's a good verse, all right? It's a good verse, but my problem is like, when I hear that song, it's a chill song. It's a really chill song. I want to get back. You sound like you're high when you listen to it because of how chill it is. It just makes like the chorus, everything. Freddie Gibbs' flow is immaculate, and then Danny Brown comes in and just like ruins like the chillness of the song. And like, I love Danny Brown. I've seen him twice in concert. Like, I love him, but I just think he ruins the otherwise very chill track. But that would have been on any other fucking song. It would have been a good verse, but I just don't like it because of that reason. And then Absol on Lakers. This verse also, if you can't tell, every single verse that I've said that I don't like, it's not the whole verse that I don't like, with this one included. It's actually a good verse. I think it fits like the summery feel of Lakers really well. It's a summery sounding verse. But the only thing I don't like about it is when he says, ironic my uncle had the king of music on Crenshaw, cause now I'm the king of music to all y'all. Like, who thinks Absol is the king of music? Like, I get being confident in your craft and being confident in yourself as a rapper, but I don't think you could name one person on the fucking planet who thinks Absol is the king of music. Like, you know what I mean? You don't have to be like fucking Kendrick Lamar level, you know what I mean? But Absol's not even the strongest guy in his fucking group. You know what I mean? Like, Kendrick Lamar is better than him, you know, not objectively better, but he's way more popular. And like, I love Isaiah. I think Isaiah Rashad's better. I think like damn near all of them are better. So that's just my opinion, but that's the only thing about that. But I think otherwise the verse is phenomenal. That line just kind of is just like, what? Like, why did he say that? But hey man, it's confidence. Confidence is key, so fuck it. And then, you know, just that's my thoughts on really the album and why I do think it's a classic. But just to go on, you know, for more supporting why I think this. Since releasing this album, Gibbs has released, you know, his other albums, including like Shadow of a Doubt, his self-titled Freddie one, Bandana with Madlib, and then just like a day or two ago, he released Alfredo with The Alchemist, which I listened to that like once or twice, but I gotta give it another spin. Alchemist is a fantastic producer, but I gotta give it another spin, you know, and you know, he's released these other albums and like they're good, right? But like they're not Piñata. Bandana wasn't even really like Piñata level, and like I don't think that's a jab at Freddie Gibbs or Madlib, because we all know that these guys are both like phenomenal and they did create Piñata. So I don't think that it's a bad thing to say, oh, you'll never top Piñata. It's not like Illmatic with Nas, where it's like that was his first album and he never quite hit it again. This album's more like, you know, it was like lightning in a bottle, you know what I mean? Like, they just fucking got it. Everything is just, all the planets aligned with this album. And that's like kind of the biggest thing about this album, you know. In conclusion though, both Madlib and Gibbs both bring their A game, production and rapping. The production sounds vintage. It doesn't even sound like it's from this era, you know what I mean? Gibbs rides every single beat perfect. Flow, content, lyrics, delivery, it all, it's like, if you're on a tightrope with all this shit, he's like perfectly on it with everything. It's dynamic. You got the highs and the lows. It all flows good. The track listing, not too long. It's surprisingly not too long. It's an hour-long album, and it's not too long to me. And then it's like a loose story of Gibbs's life. It's it's more of like a memoir, if you want to talk for like a book. It's kind of like a memoir. It's not like, think of it as a book. It's not like an autobiography. It's more of like memoirs of what was going on in his life at the time, the good and the bad. The guest verses are all fire, with the exception of Danny Brown, Absol, and Mac Miller. But you know, it's not the whole verse. It's just, it's basically me nitpicking. And then I think that this album should be deserved to be called a modern classic, and that it can be. It should be, and that it can be. Because first of all, it's two accomplished veterans like Madlib and Freddie Gibbs. It wasn't just like Madlib didn't just start working with this dude out of nowhere. Well, I mean, he did, but he didn't just like pick up a guy off the street and start working with him. That's what I meant. Perfect production, perfect rapping, the atmosphere they set with the cover art, the production, the content, everything is perfect. It sounds not from this era, which, in other words, it's timeless. It already sounds timeless to me. Like, think of the other shit being released at the time. You had like Days Before Rodeo, Sylvia Demo. I think Good Kid, Mad City was released in 2013. But you know, and that's like that. Like I think Forest Hills Drive was released in 2014 as well. So you got that type of stuff, and then you got this album, which it just sounds like it's like the production alone sounds like it's like from the 70s. So it's mind blowing to me. And then with any great album, it only gets better with every listen. You know, this isn't an album where, like, for me personally too, when I first listened to this in 2014, I'm all like, I know this is good, but I don't like love it. You know what I mean? It only took after like dozens of listens over the years where I'm like, all right, this album is fucking good, you know? And this album is pure hip hop. It's pure hip hop. Was not going for sales. I think I read on Wikipedia that it only did like 9,000 units its first week. Like 9,000. So, I mean, obviously, you know, these aren't big names or anything, but like for an album to do only 9,000 and still be as good as it is, you know. And then this video is about to be a fucking half hour, but and then just at the same time of it being pure hip hop, the production takes from damn near every genre except hip hop. So it's like, you know, it's just dope how it's such a hip hop album while simultaneously taking from all these other genres. And then, you know, last but not least, it's like, it's not, you know, it's a grower of an album. You can't just listen to it the first time and be instantly hooked. It's definitely an album that's like a grower. But then at the same time, it's not as avant-garde as something like Mad Villainy, where I'll still listen to the album and be all like, what the fuck am I listening to? And I'm just being real. So that's why I think this album's a modern classic. You know, if you have any different opinions than me, please let me know. I want to hear, I want to talk to you. I want to argue, not in a bad way. I want to talk about this. And yeah, you know, thanks for watching. I hope people got to the end. And yeah, I'll hopefully be making more videos about this. Anyway, yeah, Piñata, classic, good shit. Peace.